The human brain is the most complex structure known to science. Sitting quietly inside the skull, it weighs only about 3 pounds, yet it controls everything that makes you who you are. Every movement of your hand, every emotion you feel, every memory you recall, and every idea you imagine begins here. In a single moment, billions of signals are moving through this extraordinary organ, coordinating your body and shaping your experience of the world. Despite its relatively small size, the brain consumes an enormous amount of energy. Although it represents only about 2% of the body's total weight, it uses nearly 20% of the body's energy supply. That energy fuels an intricate network of cells working together with astonishing speed and precision. At the core of this system are neurons. These specialized nerve cells are the fundamental building blocks of the brain. Scientists estimate that the average human brain contains around 86 billion neurons. Each neuron is capable of forming thousands of connections with other neurons, creating a vast communication network that is constantly active. Neurons communicate using electrical and chemical signals. When a neuron becomes active, it generates an electrical impulse known as an action potential. This impulse travels down the length of the neuron and reaches a tiny gap between cells called a synapse. At this synapse, chemical messengers known as neurotransmitters are released, carrying the signal forward to the next neuron. This constant exchange of signals allows the brain to process information with incredible speed. Every sensation you feel, every sound you hear, and every image you see is translated into patterns of neural activity. These patterns form the language of the brain. One of the most remarkable features of the brain is its ability to change. Unlike many other organs, the brain is not fixed or static. It constantly adapts and reshapes itself in response to experience. This ability is known as neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity allows the brain to strengthen certain connections while weakening others. When you learn a new skill, practice a task, or experience something repeatedly, the neural pathways involved in that activity become stronger. Over time, these strengthened pathways make actions faster, easier, and more automatic. This is why practice leads to improvement. Whether someone is learning to play a musical instrument, mastering a sport, or studying a new language, the brain is physically reorganizing itself to support that learning process. The brain itself is divided into several major regions, each responsible for different functions. The largest part is the cerebrum. This is the area most closely associated with conscious thought, decision-making, and complex reasoning. The cerebrum is divided into two halves called hemispheres. The left hemisphere and the right hemisphere communicate constantly through a thick bundle of nerve fibers called the corpus callosum. Although both hemispheres work together, each tends to specialize in certain types of processing. The surface of the cerebrum is known as the cerebral cortex. This outer layer is highly folded, creating ridges and grooves that dramatically increase its surface area. These folds allow a greater number of neurons to fit within the limited space of the skull. The cortex itself is divided into 4 main lobes: the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, the temporal lobe, and the occipital lobe. Each lobe performs specialized roles in processing information and controlling behavior. The frontal lobe sits at the front of the brain and plays a crucial role in decision-making, planning, and problem-solving. It is also deeply involved in personality, emotional regulation, and impulse control. This area helps us weigh consequences, control our actions, and guide our behavior according to goals and values. Within the frontal lobe lies the prefrontal cortex, one of the most advanced regions of the human brain. This area is essential for complex reasoning and abstract thinking. It allows us to imagine the future, make long-term plans, and evaluate different possibilities before taking action. The parietal lobe lies near the top and middle of the brain. Its primary role is processing sensory information from the body. Whenever you feel the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the pressure of your feet against the ground, or the texture of an object in your hand, the parietal lobe is interpreting those signals. This region also helps the brain understand spatial relationships. It allows you to judge distances, navigate through environments, and understand where your body is positioned in space. At the back of the brain lies the occipital lobe. This region is dedicated almost entirely to vision. Signals from the eyes travel along the optic nerves and reach the occipital cortex, where they are interpreted as images. The brain does not simply record what the eyes see. Instead, it actively constructs visual perception. It identifies shapes, colors, motion, and depth, transforming raw light signals into the rich visual world we experience. The temporal lobes sit on the sides of the brain near the ears. These regions are involved in processing sound, understanding language, and storing memories. When you hear music, recognize a familiar voice, or recall a past event, the temporal lobes are heavily involved. Deep within the temporal lobe lies the hippocampus, a structure that plays a critical role in forming new memories. The hippocampus helps convert short-term experiences into long-term memories that can be recalled later. Without the hippocampus, new memories cannot be stored effectively. This has been observed in certain neurological conditions where damage to this region leaves individuals unable to remember events that occur after the injury. Another important structure located near the hippocampus is the amygdala. The amygdala is part of the brain's emotional processing system. It helps the brain recognize threats, respond to danger, and attach emotional meaning to experiences. When you feel fear, excitement, or sudden alarm, the amygdala is often involved. It works closely with other brain regions to prepare the body for action. The brain also contains structures responsible for regulating the body's internal environment. One of these structures is the hypothalamus. Though small in size, the hypothalamus plays a vital role in maintaining balance within the body. It regulates hunger, thirst, body temperature, hormone release, and sleep cycles. By communicating with the endocrine system, the hypothalamus helps coordinate the body's hormonal responses to different situations. Another essential structure is the thalamus. The thalamus acts as a relay station for sensory information. Signals from the eyes, ears, skin, and other sensory organs pass through the thalamus before being directed to the appropriate areas of the brain. This process ensures that sensory data is organized and distributed efficiently. Below the cerebrum lies the cerebellum. Although smaller than the cerebrum, the cerebellum contains an enormous number of neurons and plays a crucial role in movement coordination. The cerebellum fine-tunes motor activity. It helps control balance, posture, and precise movements. Whether you are walking, typing, or catching a ball, the cerebellum is constantly adjusting muscle activity to maintain smooth motion. The brain continues to change and adapt. Even as we age, the brain continues to change and adapt. Although some cognitive functions may slow over time, many abilities can remain strong through lifelong learning and engagement. The brain is not simply a biological machine. It is the source of creativity, imagination, and consciousness. Every story ever written, every scientific discovery, every work of art, and every technological innovation has emerged from the activity of this remarkable organ. Yet, despite decades of research, scientists still have much to learn. Many aspects of the brain remain mysterious, and each new discovery reveals deeper levels of complexity. Understanding the brain not only helps us treat neurological diseases, but also helps us understand ourselves. It reveals how thoughts are formed, how memories are stored, and how emotions shape our decisions. In many ways, the brain is the most fascinating frontier in biology. Every thought you have, every memory you hold, and every action you take begins with tiny electrical signals moving through billions of interconnected neurons. These signals create the patterns that define who you are. The hidden power of the human brain lies not only in its complexity, but in its adaptability, resilience, and limitless potential for learning. Every discovery about the human body brings us closer to understanding ourselves. Hit the subscribe button for more insights into how the human body works.